Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Bookhardt. Come join us at our newest clinic location at Good Faith Wellness Center. We provide compassionate health care for your entire family, from virtual visits to office appointments. We're committed to providing the best care. We accept all insurances and we provide monthly wellness plans. Let's start your family journey to a healthier, happier life. Schedule your appointment today. And remember, true wealth begins with good health. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I see Dr. Kimble is in the background there. Good evening to you, Dr. Kimble. Can you see? Can you see me back there, backstage? All right. Well, good evening to everyone. Welcome to Telehealth Tuesday, to another episode. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Bookhardt. This is your go-to podcast for insights on modern healthcare and wellness solutions. Now, today we have a very special episode for you featuring Dr. Kimble. But before I tell you all about my fantastic next guest, let's do a little housekeeping. I want to take a moment to just thank tonight's sponsors, Graphics R Chase, P5 Solutions, and as always, a Diamond Dynasty, Greek Apparel Solutions. I want to also let you know that Telehealth Tuesday can be viewed on multiple platforms, including our YouTube channel, which is Dr. B TV, DOCTOR, the letter B TV, and also Good Faith Wellness Center on Instagram and Facebook. So please follow, like, share, and subscribe there. And also, lastly, I want to let you know about our brand new clinic location called Good Faith Wellness Center on Lakeland Drive in Flowood, Mississippi. And right now, as I said on the previous episode, hear me good. I want the camera to zoom in. For the rest of this month and all of December, we will waive copays for all new patients. Now, I'm not talking about our chronic patients or existing patients, hear me clearly, but for all new patients coming to Good Faith Wellness Center, we will waive your copay until December 31st, 2024. So January 1 now, that's a whole different story. All right, so let's go to our guest. I want to tell you a little bit about Dr. Kimble, about her biography. Let's 1 second here. We're going to get that pulled up. Okay. Dr. Kimble is a certified Christian therapist. She's the founder and CEO of both Dear Future Spouse and The Excellent Wife. Her diverse roles encompass those that of being a wife, mother, a minister, a therapist, relationship expert, entrepreneur, and also most recently, a grandmother. Dr. Kimble has a deep passion for serving others through her ministry of prayer. She has committed her life to guiding individuals and couples towards wholeness through counseling and prayer. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Dr. Althea Kimble.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me? I think might be a little interference. You can hear me pretty clearly?
Yes, sir, I can hear you very clear.
Okay, I can hear you. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to put a couple of comments on there. We see Alexis is there, my former patient who has turned a good friend, who is always there supporting us. We thank you for being here. Good evening to everyone. And look, just so you all know, this is live in case you don't know. So that means you can ask your questions here for the next 1 hour. The platform is that of Dr. Kimble and of yours. So you can ask your questions and make comments right here. So, Dr. Kimble, would you tell us some more about you? Tell us. I know I read your bio to our guests, but I'm sure there might be a few things you want the audience to know. Maybe something I left out. Tell us all about yourself.
Well, I feel like you covered everything. I love counseling. You know how people say, if you could do it, when you find your passion, you would do it for free if you could. That is absolutely me. I love helping people, navigate themselves to the process of wholeness. I know that it's not an easy task. it's kind of like I always tell people that I'm like the hair club for men. I don't know if you, I'm aging myself now, but I don't know if you
Right.
all remember the commercial. Not only am I the owner, but I'm also a client. Therapy saved my life, saved me. And I had such an excellent therapist that I decided to become one. So you hit everything though, pretty spot on.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's see. We let me go to the the question and comment section. Usually, what we have, I'm on the okay, Letitia. I mean, let's put that on the monitor. Letitia Newsom says we love Dr. Althea Kimble. Let tell you know what it says. Dr. Althea, Dr. Althea, Dr. Laws Kimble. Tell us about that. Which tell us about that.
It's Dr. Kimble. I recently, well, actually on Thanksgiving, I would be celebrating 9 years of marriage. So, it's actually
Congratulations.
Dr. Kimble. I honor my husband with that.
Congratulations.
Thank you
That
so much.
congratulations. Well, there you have it. You heard it, folks. So post your questions here. We're going to get started. So this is all about, this episode is about managing stress and navigating the holidays, somewhat while being single. But I mean, also, of course, for people that are married or in committed relationships, that how do we manage the stress? Because whether you're single or not, then there's also the other stress, the side of having family issues and family drama. And we definitely know all too well about that. So, but my first question from our standpoint, so how can single during the holidays be a positive thing instead of feeling like, someone or something is missing?
Well, I feel like that's a really good question. Being navigating as a single person can be very hard. Especially when you go to your auntie's house or your grandmother, and they're constantly asking you that question that you dread when you're single. When you get married, or when you're going to bring someone home. That we can meet. So for singles, it could be very stressful navigating through the holidays, and you're by yourself. So I always tell people, to prepare for that question, because we know that it's going to be asked. But also, take a moment and just think about what you need for the holidays. If you need to be alone for a little bit, then do that. I don't recommend people stay alone, but I feel like, you have to decide what's best for you when you're single. If you want to go out and be with your friends, then do that. Do whatever makes you happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do you feel like it's made you, a stronger therapist with, even your own personal, not asking you to share personal, but do you feel like your own experiences have allowed you to be, that much more of an effective therapist, from what you've seen personally?
Absolutely. I am an advocate of transparency. I feel like there needs to be a lot more transparency, especially when it comes down to dealing with mental health, because it's such a stigma behind it, and especially in our community. So I think that transparency is very important. But I definitely counsel better because I utilize or remember what it felt like being single. So absolutely. It
Hmm.
was tough when I was single, because you always have people that want to know, well, why you're single, and it's hard sometimes in those dating streets. It really is. It's hard to navigate, sometimes when you're single, especially if you're Christian, or if your standards are somewhat high. It
Hmm.
sometimes can be a little difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. But and what are some simple ways, that people can, let's say that we can try to take care of our mental health during the holidays? Are there any kind of strategies that you recommend? Like I say, regardless of somebody's status or not, relationship status or even religious status, some simple tips that will help us during the holiday season.
Absolutely. I definitely am a fan of therapy, of course. If you have lost a loved one during the holidays, I know that can be very hard. So my tips for people that have lost a loved one is to utilize therapy, use your EAP. Griefshare.org is an amazing organization that'll help you to build community so that you can deal with your grief a little bit better and navigate through the holidays as well. But as singles, a lot of times, again, it's that stress of, showing up alone. I say get dressed up and go anyway, have a good time anyway. And then for married couples, sometimes it's the stress of delegating, wanting your own memories versus, having to be committed to going to a lot of different places, especially if you have children. So it always just come back to self-care, making sure that you do what's necessary for your own mental health and do that, whatever that is, unapologetically.
Absolutely. Well, we've got our first question from Jasmine Briscoe. Let's put that up. Oh, wait a minute here. There we go. Let's get that question up there. Jasmine says, do you recommend, um, you know, Jasmine's always, Dr. Kimball, Jasmine has become a friend of mine. We've got some things we're working on. She's a lymphatic drainage massage therapist, and she does a ton of other things. I can't even remember all of her talents, and but she every episode, Jasmine's gonna find a way to kind of weave this thing into massage or some body work. So she said, "Do you recommend?" But I guess Jasmine, if you're asking that from a mental health, like, are you saying, Jasmine, do you, she says, do you recommend body work therapy? So I'm guessing I'm interpreting that as saying, do you think that if you recommend body work therapy, is that something that can help boost people's the mental side?
Absolutely. I feel that, even incorporating walking, exercise, any type of thing, we are mind, body, and soul. So we need to make sure that our mental health is taken care of, our body, as well as our spiritual side. We are more than just mental. We need everything functioning together to be whole and to be well. So whatever you need, I feel that do whatever's necessary when it comes down to therapy. There's so many different types of therapy. So definitely. She said massage therapy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. We appreciate the question. No question is off limits, folks. We are here for you, so please keep them coming. Great questions. Another question. Let's put this up on the scene. Oh, she just said that physical activity is an enhancement booster as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. All right. Next question. How do you deal with? So, how do you deal with toxic in-laws? That's one. How do you deal with toxic in-laws? Two is, how do you deal with how do you deal with a crowded family gathering if you are an introverted person with an overbearing family? So one, dealing with toxic in-laws, and the second, dealing with crowded family gatherings if you're an introvert.
Okay, so I can answer this all together. One of the tips that, because see, we have to understand something. A lot of people, I call it your people meter. Some people meter is very short, and then some people, they don't meet a stranger, so they're fine when it comes to socializing. So
Mhm.
I always say, take care of yourself. Make sure that you're not hungry. Make sure that you get plenty of rest, things that feed your people meter. So when you're dealing with toxic family members, you have to love them through a boundary. So I would set a timer. How long can I tolerate this particular environment? So sometimes I'll set a timer. I either have it, and I do it on my Apple Watch. So I don't know what non-Apple users do, but anyway, but I would set my Apple
My job.
Watch. I would set my timer either 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes, whatever I can tolerate for that particular event. And it would be on vibrator. So it would remind me, okay, it's time for me to go. I've shown up. Hey, how y'all doing? Oh, great, wonderful. Well, and then I would make my exit. And if that person, um, just be ready to make your exit. I wouldn't entertain any type of toxicity When they come to me in a different way, well, I'm so sorry, but let me, excuse yourself and then move on. But the part B, I would set a timer for me personally, because if I'm an introvert and I can only do a short period of time, then I'm going to do that, and I already have my exit strategy, ready. Well, I just came over to just, pop my head in for a little bit. I got to make my rounds. Or
Hmm.
a hard one is like, I already have the next situation set and come in with that, lead with that, so you can make sure that you have that good exit strategy available.
Hmm. Well, I think that's so important because a lot of us, don't know how to deal with that, don't have a good exit strategy. And then, we just really don't talk about this type of stuff in our community. It's just like in the Black community, we kind of hide up under the auspices of the church and just say, well, just let God deal with it. And that's very important. We're not knocking that. But in our community, we sweep a lot of things under the rug, and one of them would be something like that. So I think that's such a pertinent, an excellent question about toxic family members. Um, we had a we have a comment about just FaceTime everyone. Okay. Um,
That too, because if it's a situation, unfortunately, we do have those toxic environments. If it's a situation where I absolutely cannot be in that environment, then again, you just have to love them through a hard boundary and just say, hey, because you think about this, how many people say, who all is going to be there?
right,
When we
right,
all,
yeah,
who
yeah.
all is coming? That's why, because we don't feel safe, or we may not feel comfortable being in that particular environment. So if it's an absolute no, then I'm just going to have to excuse myself from that particular event.
You know, you just kind of cleared that up because I have had issues with that for years. I'm like, look, people say like whether if I've had a gathering or because see I never asked that. There might be one or two people, and it's not too many people that I don't probably personally care for in life that bother me that much. But I'm like, well, if I'm going somewhere, I'm gonna go. I don't care who's, but that's me. I can deal with it. But
Hmm.
you just really highlighted something for my own understanding. You know, because honestly, I used to get really annoyed, because I say if I'm putting on something and I'm like, now you good people, you good Negroes, you don't have to pay any money, you don't have to bring anything, you eating up my food, and you're gonna ask me who's there, don't worry, you're not here yet, so bring yourself.
Hmm.
And but yeah, you just really so I think with that question and with your response, that shed a lot of light because maybe people are triggered by certain things or people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if
Hmm.
you're not able to be around, and then something that we don't talk about, like you were saying earlier, just being in the space of maybe someone that was an abuser, or if you have a toxic, mother, or somebody that you can't avoid,
Mm.
that space is really hard. So, if you're able to do it, but have an exit strategy. Oh, well, you know what? That's my time. Gotta go, and just
Okay.
have that already prepared before you get there.
Okay. To protect your mental health.
Hmm.
So I know, one of the things is, and I'm pretty sure my mother's listening, her sister, and God bless her soul, Aunt Diane did, passed away in a car accident. But, we had some things in the family and there was a toxic relationship between her unfortunately and her daughter, and we would try to say, well, how do we navigate this when we come up there to visit and they're in the same room, and it just seems like it can't work, it can't exist.
Hmm.
So these things that you're saying, I sure wish I knew those some years ago. I think it would have helped, even our family, because maybe that's the issue. Like somebody come in and you're like, hey, I got a timer, stopwatch, it's been long enough, so before it gets to that level, I gotta go.
And it's just something that you do privately for yourself. I wouldn't, broadcast it, but I would just go in prepared, because if it's been toxic all your life, God can do anything. He can change the situation. But if it just hasn't changed right now, you have to do what you need to do for yourself. And so, I mean, there's times, because I do have a low people meter. especially being a therapist, because you pour, just like you as a doctor, you pour so much, you have to make sure that you stay full yourself. So you have to do certain things to make sure that you keep your own mental health together. I know for me to, when I'm going to visit family, I take a nap first because I
Okay.
can't be, hey, how you doing, if I don't have a nap first.
Right, right.
Or if I know that, okay, we got to get there and dinner may be late, I'm going to get me something to eat because I know that I'm going to be grumpy, or in a bad mood if I'm hungry. So I try to make sure that I manage me and do the best that I can do for myself first instead of putting the responsibility on someone else.
Okay, okay, absolutely. Another question that we have. So, when it comes to social media, this all encompassing social media, people live for this stuff. It is truly taking over the world. And unfortunately, it takes over people's relationships. So, I guess my question would be when let's say a single person who's kind of you make it to another holiday and perhaps the individual is still single and they're feeling down about it, and then when they see happy couples all over flooding social media, either you putting engagement ring pictures up or whatever it is, happy couples, how do they is there any advice for that person who starts feeling some type of way when they're seeing that? Like they could be happy for their family or their homegirl or their best friend or whoever, but secretly inside they're feeling some type of way because they don't have that.
Absolutely. I oftentimes say that comparison is a thief. It robs you of your joy, of your peace, of your hope, all of those things. This one you just cannot do without prayer, asking God to give you the strength that you need to be genuinely happy in the state that you're in. A lot of times people, especially around this time of year, they begin to they feel exactly what you're saying. They're looking at the everybody with the matching pajamas and all of those things, and they want to be coupled up too. And I get that. But the thing of it is that if it's not your time and it's not your season, that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen for you.
Right.
So I always suggest and tell people stay in the space of gratitude and just trying to be as genuinely happy for others as possible. Because if you're not, it's just going to adversely affect you. So try to, create your own memories, create your own happy spaces. I know, like during COVID, they created something called Friendsgiving.
Friend.
Make sure that you have a strong community of people that you can do things with as well and celebrate the holidays. You may not have your person, but you can definitely create your people, your community.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a comment that says it's all about God's timing and not ours. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. Amen to that. Um, Dr. Kim, I just want to let's pivot real quick away from the questions. And again, everybody, welcome to Telehealth Tuesday. We are here with Dr. Kimball. For those of you that are just joining, I see some familiar faces and names that are joining, and I don't know if you can see it as well, Dr. Kimball, on your left or maybe on your right. Are you able to see the comments on this
Some
platform?
of them, yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
But and I'll always read them out, read those aloud. Um, but I wanted to ask you, talk about you. I think you're located in Nashville, Tennessee. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Yes. Would you mind walking us just through maybe just a 1 minute or 2 minute walkthrough of how, a patient comes to you, either they're referred or they're self-referred, possibly they find out about you and your services and they come to you. What does a day in the life of that patient look like when they walk through your doors?
Well, what's amazing is that the referral is amazing. I get a lot of referrals, so that to me is a blessing.
Hmm.
And so we start off with a free 15-minute consultation because, everybody is not for, I may not be a good fit for you. You may not be a good fit for me. So to make sure that we have that common ground and that I am a good fit for you, because that's very important to me, we'll have that 15-minute consult. A lot of times, even if I don't think that it's something that it's a good fit for me, I always refer them out to at least 2 to 3 different resources where they can get, the help that they need. I know a lot of people come to me for grief share,
Hmm.
but I mean, for grief counseling, grief is so different with everybody. And they have a wonderful program called Grief Share that I always recommend to people. So
Hmm.
even if you're not a good fit for me, I try to make sure I have 2 to 3 resources for people. So they do that, and then I also have what's called the Arnold Profile System. It's called it's an APS. It's the Arnold Profile System, and it basically just a few questions, and it's you in front of me in black and white. If you take it correctly, I'll know exactly who you are, what your temperament is, and how to counsel you more effectively. It's not something that everyone offers, but it has been a wonderful guide for me in what I do. And oftentimes, like if I have couples, it has a couple of little tricks in there. I can tell um, who's going to be the aggressor in the relationship. I mean, I can tell a lot of different things from just a few questions, and it's broke down into 3 parts. So, depending on what type of therapy that you need, I always recommend at least 8. I always recommend go through the process of at least 8 because the first 2 to 3 is going to be kind of superficial. But to get down to the meat of it, we need a minimum of 8. So that's what it looks like for me.
And 8 1 hour sessions.
Yes, sir. 55 minutes. And usually it depends on what the topic is. You will get some homework assignments because I want to make sure that people have the tools that they need to navigate their mental health, even if they say, you know what, this is not for me, I'm good. I still want to make sure that you leave with, you know, what you need, those tools in your mental health tool bag for later. And then with I do premarital counseling as well, and we have a questionnaire that they fill out, just a short questionnaire, and it allows me to um, cater those premarital counseling 8 sessions to their own specific need. Like for instance, if they are blending their family, then they would get one on blended family, where
Okay.
that wouldn't be beneficial to someone who doesn't have children. So they
Right.
get
Right.
specific 8-week sessions for their own marital journey. So.
Now that is amazing, and we got some questions pouring in. But look, I want to before we get to that, Lanique. Before we get to that, I just two quick questions. So one, is this so is this covered through any type of insurance, or do you have a payment plan just to see who all can who can come to you?
It is a self pay. There is not any insurance coverage, but I do make it affordable. Something that I decided to do a long time ago is to make it affordable for us because I already know that the stigma around it and everything. But no, it's not. It's not covered by insurance. It's just self pay.
Okay, okay. And are there any payment plans for people that can kind of work some things out with you? Is that something that you offer?
Absolutely, we can do a scale plan, or but usually it's so affordable that people don't. We normally don't go that deep into it. But there
Okay.
are times when I have allowed people to set up a payment plan.
And then and like I said, I try not to divert, but this like my mind is going so many places when
Hmm.
you say, because when you say people, it normally doesn't cause any issue. It's so affordable. That's one thing I want to highlight, that in our community, folks will say, oh, you tell them copay, $25 copay, oh man, and they start saying all this kind of stuff. But it's like, you just went to the Beyonce concert, you just bought brand new handbags, shoes, whatever. One thing that this has shown me, especially since COVID, people people do what they want to do, and whatever it is, whatever that they deem as a priority, they make time for that. They make time and space, opportunity for that.
Absolutely. And your mental health is wealth. If you don't have your mind, you don't have anything. So it, and I'm just going to be very honest, it frustrates me sometimes when you see people that need help, and they, They don't want to go through the process. It's just like as a doctor, you give them things to do, and then they come back to their next visit and they haven't done anything, but they expect to be well. It's a process, and it's something that, people need to take seriously, because your mental health is your wealth. If you don't have your mind, you don't have anything.
Amen to that. Let me go to the questions. I'll come back to my last thing about premarital counseling. It might
Sure.
it's gonna be slightly messy, but let's go to the
That's all
question.
right. I'm ready.
All right. All right. Question here. I recently learned of friends who lost loved ones. How do you help them through this first holiday without their loved one? Hmm.
Well, one thing, I feel like they have to be gentle with themselves, because it is going to be tough. But, even if it's hard to get out of the bed, try to get up, try to get around, go around people, your support system, lean on them, but also make memories. I was listening to something the other day, and the person was like, I got so angry. He had lost his mother recently. He said, I get so angry when people say, make a memory. He said, no, I want the old memories back. Well,
Mm,
unfortunately,
mm,
we can't do that. And then you have to think about, would that person want you to stay in this space of grief? Or would they want you to move forward and live your life? Continue to make, especially if it's a parent, continue to make them proud. If it's a child, um, continue to, honor their memory in the best way that you can. Not in a way that, you know, because I think that sometimes people make a shrine of that person and they have it in front of them all the time. It's hard to heal that way. But make a memory is something that you can honor them, and you carry them in your heart anyway. I tell clients all the time, they're like, oh, I miss talking to my mom. And I'll say, well, what would she say, when you're having a conversation? What would she say if you talk to her about this? Oh, she would say this. So we carry that person in our spirit, for the rest of our lives. They wouldn't want us to stay stuck in grief. They would want us to move forward and just continue to honor their memory and their legacy.
hmm. So would you say that is it helpful? And this we could put this on a deceased loved one, or we could tie this to either an ex, uh, girlfriend, boyfriend, or an ex husband or wife. Let's say that either these people have unfortunately passed away, or you're separated from them, or divorced, or whatever. But you have these lasting memories, either whether it's children or whatever, or pictures in your house, old, what's the best way to navigate that? Because if you still got things up in your house, things that remind you of that person, especially if they're deceased, or even on your social media, pictures of someone in the past, or if they're deceased, is that something that's unhealthy for the person to move forward?
Well, I don't think so. I think when I've seen people set up literally a shrine in their home. I don't think that that part is healthy, but I feel like keeping that person's memory alive with you is always good. I know for me, my grandmother passed away. I wore a bracelet every day. So absolutely not. That was a way for me to keep her close to me. I have a Bible that she had her name on it, and I put my name in front of it every time. I read from it every day. I make sure that I have that with me every day. But when we get stuck in grief, some things that we do can cause us to get stuck in grief. So you have to find a way to honor them that's healthy, and
Hmm.
not a way that is going to keep us in that repetitive state of being sad, but finding a way that honors their traditions or honor their legacy. A lot of times, when our grandparents die, their traditions and the things that they did die with them. So let's find a way to keep those things alive, but not make it to where we've made a shrine of it and we're in grief every day. That's why I say grief share is so good, because it'll put you in an environment where you have people that have been grieving with you, and they also celebrate the life of that person.
Hmm.
So you can do that without staying in the cycle of grief, because sometimes we get stuck in that cycle and it's hard to get out of that. And
Mm.
then we spiral into depression and other aspects of mental health, poor mental health.
So just to summarize that, you're saying that if somebody's kind of on the extreme side, which is like a literal tall shrine or something like that, that person most likely won't be able to move forward. But other things, could be okay. Like they can have, small thing here or there, especially if they have moved on, like I said, either from previous relationship or divorce, or if if the person is deceased from the past. Either way, um, there's extremes to that, like a literal shrine sitting in your living room. And then there's other things where you might have a picture or two here or there, but that doesn't mean the person is still waiting in the past and lamenting about that's just something that, okay, this was a timeline in life, but I've still moved on.
Well, let me give you a great example because I don't want people to take that out of content,
Okay.
But like for example, if there was a man whose wife passed away and he wants to keep all of these pictures up, how can he move forward? Now, when you meet someone and you try to bring them into that space, it's going to be difficult to navigate with that deceased wife on the wall.
Right.
So you don't get rid of the memory per se, but you have to you have to move it out of that space in order to move forward, because you'll get stuck in that cycle. And
Mhm.
I don't know anybody that would be okay with their wife's picture,
Right.
the deceased wife picture up.
Mhm.
And I've had to counsel people through that,
Okay.
where they don't want to get rid of the ex-wife's clothes or belongings, but they're ready to move forward. Well, you can't move forward holding on to the past in any type of capacity.
Absolutely.
Then with divorce and separation and girlfriend boyfriend, that's a little bit different. It is a death of a relationship, and when you're married, it's you feel like a death. You go through all of the grief processes, the 5 stages of grief when you go through a divorce, but it's a little bit different. In that case, you do get rid of all of that stuff and
Hmm.
you start your own new traditions. You do things. I know for me, when I went through my divorce, I didn't know who I was without my ex-husband, because we had been together so long. So I had to get rid of all the old stuff, and I had to figure out, what did I like? What do I need? It was like a being born again, almost reborn, because now I had to figure out what I liked and what traditions I wanted to start for me. So it's different, but it's still kind of the same concept.
Okay. Absolutely. Let's see. We have a question here.
Sure.
Um, how do you declutter? I think you touched on this a little bit. How do you declutter old items without regrets?
Well, if you have children, my suggestion is to maybe put it in some type of crate or something for them in the future, because you don't want to get rid of those memories if you have children with that person. So put that away for something that they can take with them, in the future. Maybe put it up in the attic or something, put the kid's name on it. But if it's, somebody that you dated, how can you heal if you're still smelling his shirt, or still wearing something that he, you can't heal properly? You're still going to be stuck in that process. So you kind of got to have a clean slate. Give the things to Goodwill, find someone, a charity to give them to, or maybe a friend or something. Especially if it's something that, like a shirt or something, just go ahead and get rid of that, because it's going to be triggering anyway. So you're
Mhm.
just adding unnecessary triggers when you hold on to things, and you want to move forward. If the relationship, if there was a goodbye, it's some good and goodbye. There's a reason that you all divorced or separated or broke up. So just start a fresh slate and then figure out what you need and what you like, and just start all over. And it's okay. You can't heal with that constant thought or trigger. You won't be able to heal properly. And that's why so many people get stuck and they stay single for so long, because they haven't let go in their mind of the person that, who hurt them or they separated from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great question and great Great answer and explanation. Let's see. We've got another question that is just keep them coming, folks. They are rolling in, Dr. Kimball. They're rolling in.
I see.
Yeah. I have a friend. Tiffany says, I have a friend and their son just committed suicide on Sunday. Wow. What can you say to them as Thanksgiving will never be the same?
Take it one day at a time. It's still very, very fresh, very, very new. Make sure that they stay, connected with their community as well. But it's still very, very fresh. I know that when someone does commit suicide, especially when it's a child, you as parents, you look at yourself like, what did I do? What was the signs? But sometimes there's absolutely no signs, none at all. I always refer to, like Robin Williams, for instance. He made the world laugh, and no one knew that he was suffering silently. So don't I would try to make peace with it as much as I could, and definitely get some good extensive therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But right now, because it just happened, you know, I would just give them the space to grieve. Everybody's grief process is different. Grief to me is like a thumbprint. Everyone's grief process is different. Some
Mm-hmm.
people can navigate it better than others, and some just absolutely cannot. But definitely get whatever you need. Sometimes you may even need some type of sedative. People, we don't talk about that. Taking some type of aid to get us through that hard season, that first year, that first moment. See your physician, talk it over with your physician, and see what they can even recommend for you, as well as if you're going to a psychiatrist or something like that, see what they can recommend for that dark season of your life. But definitely stay in community, talk to people, and allow yourself the space to grieve. And try not to internalize it as though it's your fault.
Mm. Wow. That's excellent. And Tiffany, I'm really sorry for you and your friend's loss. There's no words right there that can bring any other comfort for that. So again, our heart goes out to the family. I know that um, Tiffany is a good friend of mine, and she shared with us on a previous episode, several episodes ago, about, I think, Tiffany, you had, was it two or three people that you had known that committed suicide? We had another mental health segment on a few episodes ago, and so she was sharing that with the audience. So,
The
uh,
holidays are really tough. They are really, really tough. And we have to be gentle with ourselves. And, oftentimes, we were talking about toxic family members. My theory is if I can't be with my family, I'll create a family. We don't have to be the same bloodline to be family.
mm,
If I can't be with those that I love and that I want to be with, and I'm going to
mhm.
create that safe space for myself.
Can you say that again for the people in the back? You said if I don't have a family, you going what are you going to do again?
I'm going to create a family. I'm going to create a community, people that are going to be gentle with me, people that are going to honor me and who I am and accept me for who I am. Sometimes we have to get away from our kinfolk. What they say, all kinfolk is not skinfolk,
Mhm. There
So
you go.
sometimes we have to
There you go.
create our own family and our own community, and we just have to do that. And I'd rather do that. People will say, well, you don't even hang with your own family. Well, hey, I can't. So I have to be around people that are going to honor me and value me for all the things that I bring as well. So you have to create your family sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tiffany, yeah, she just said I had three friends, all male, that committed suicide. One of the interesting things, Tiffany, and to the audience is that, Dr. Kimball, unless this is some kind of old statistics, I don't know if this is still true. I believe it is, but when I was in med school, we would study that you know females attempt suicide more, but males are unfortunately more successful, and that's because of the ways that men attempt suicide. A lot of times it's with lethal means, such as guns and large knives and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, unfortunately, men, the women will do certain things, whether it's and I won't go into the ways in which they do it, but those are things that might bring them to the hospital. But a lot of times it's actually not, life threatening, or whether somebody has a gastric lavage, or pumping somebody's stomach, and
Mhm.
1 or 2 days of observation in the hospital, and then the mental health floor, and then they may be discharged. And unfortunately, men, not so much. I've got my brother here, Charles Henderson. We appreciate you coming on, man. This is Dr. Kimble. I don't know if it's the fact that you're on here, that we have our celebrity guest that's bringing all the big dogs out, but this is a good friend of mine. We've been like brothers, and we have a group chat. So he's the first from our brotherhood chat that's been on Telehealth Tuesday. So we appreciate you coming on.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Shout out to Charles and T. He said that. He said, I love that. He said, creating your own family. He said, I love that. Let's see here. Let's go to all right, we've got another question, comment here. Laura says, okay. I moved my deceased husband's clothes in 8 years, and I felt reborn after 8 years. So, the Lord, are you saying that your husband had passed away, unfortunately? And again, sorry for your loss. But unfortunately, after he passed, your husband's clothes were there in the closet in the house for 8 years, and then you moved them out and you felt reborn. Let us know if that's what you're saying, Dolores. But I don't, Dr. Kim, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
It sounds like it. I always tell people after a loss, don't make any major decisions in that first 6 months. None at all. That's just my personal opinion. Because everything is still very fresh. But, you know, that you will feel reborn. You will feel brand new. Again, when you look at those things, you get stuck, and you get stuck in what should have been, what could have been, and you just get stuck. So, definitely, I can see the rebirth after getting rid of those things after 8 years. And sometimes it just takes time. So, no one's judging if it takes you 8 years to do that. We just applaud the fact that you did.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. We appreciate. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dolores. We appreciate, that question, comment. See, and y'all keep them coming. We've got another 12 minutes. You see, Dr. Kimball is once they start rolling in. We just keep on going. Like the song says, this trains keep on going. Let's see here. Blessings to Dr. Kimball. Blessings on you, Kimberly G. All right. So pivoting back to some of our questions that we have. So, when it comes to an individual, let's say that is not blessed with the family, or they have family, but they're not blessed to be able to be around the family. Maybe they can't tolerate them. The other thing is maybe they also don't have a lot of friends. Maybe they're an introvert, like
Mhm.
the question that was asked before. What would you say is a way that this person can, kind of create their own tradition, by either by themselves or with their smaller, family, their smaller circle? Is there a way is that healthy to say, you know what, we're going to stand up and create our own tradition? And how does one go about that?
I'm just actually just doing it, even if you're single. I know a lot of people. I personally can't travel alone. I'm just, I'm maybe just a scaredy cat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people nowadays are doing solo trips and solo vacations. And, there's a lot of different ways that you can make it safe. Now, I'm not saying that you don't do it. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, solo trips and making sure that you're safe and making sure that you have everything lined up, to be able to just travel and do things alone. I don't recommend it, but I know that for people that are introverts, it is hard sometimes to get out of your comfort zone and try to recreate that space.
Mhm.
So look at safe places like your church. Get a good church community. I know that we just recently joined a new church, and I go to Noonday Bible Study. Well, it's the senior citizens Bible study. And I absolutely love it, and they are always looking for people or need people, volunteer for different community outreach, different shelters, or maybe a senior citizen home or something like that. Ways that you can give back. Even if you are an introvert, you can go and volunteer and do those things without being, involving a lot of people. But definitely getting out and just trying to get outside of your comfort zone and doing it anyway. I know that we have a group, the Excellent Wife is a group, and it just started off during the pandemic. It was like, before the pandemic, it was like 200 people in the group every day, every week. It was just around 200. Well, once the pandemic came, I was in the house with three other guys. I had all male in the house, and I was lonely, because I didn't have that hey girlfriend kind of conversation. They were off playing video games and doing sports and stuff, and I was very lonely. So I created this thing called Girlfriends Check In, and I just got involved. And we would come in on the live, and I would say, hey, how's everybody doing? And it grew from 200 people to 84,000 women.
80.
So
What? I'm sorry. Excuse me. Hold up. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. We can't just speed past that like Kevin Hart said. We can't just hold on now. Did you say now 8,400 or 84,000?
K thousand.
84,000. What's the name of this group again? What's the
It's
name?
called The Excellent Wife. It was called Dear Future Wives. It was a spinoff from a singles group. Like, I used to write love letters to my husband before I met him, and it was called Dear Future Spouse. And that page still exists. So the spinoff was Dear Future Wives, but they were like, well, I don't want to be called Future Wives. I want to be a wife. So we changed it to The Excellent Wife. But it
Wow.
started off because during COVID, I would just come on live every Thursday, and I would just, we would just chit chat. Hey, how y'all doing? This what I'm doing today. Or even talking about some of the grievances or things that I went through when I was single, waiting, dating with a purpose. Right now we're doing modern day wives. We're doing modern day lessons from wives in the Bible. So we're taking unorthodox women from the Bible and teaching lessons that we can implement, into our walk, of being a wife in the future, whether you're married or not. So we do have married and single in the group.
That
But
is that's
went
amazing.
to so
And
even if you can't find your actual community, find an online community. And what's really amazing is women in the group have now become friends. And so
wow.
now they have created a community outside of our community. They have met other women through the group, and some of them they've met outside of Facebook. I'm also a part of this thing called Black Girls Tribe, and every month they do something. So even if you're introvert, find ways to get outside of your comfort zone and try to find your community. If it don't work, next. Okay, they're not for me. Next. And keep
Right,
going
right.
until you find that safe place where you feel comfortable.
That's amazing work, and we definitely applaud you for that. That is awesome. Well, we'll have to talk offline about Telehealth Tuesday and you creating the thing so we can get to 84,000 and keep
Sure,
on going higher.
absolutely.
That's just a little shameless plug there. Uh,
That's fine.
let's see. All right, let's go back to this for our last few minutes. Charles says, what is a good mental health regimen? He states, as a man, I have to balance being a husband, a father, brother, friend, entrepreneur, and my 9 to 5 job. So how do you balance all of that?
Very good question. Very good question. What's really, what I've learned lately, and this is something that I've started asking not just male clients, but just men that I come in contact with, period, is what do you need? And you'd be surprised the hesitation. I remember asking one of my clients, I was like, well, what do you need? And he was like, so confused. He was like, nobody's ever asked me that. I said, how old are you?
Hmm.
He was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 42. I said, and nobody's ever asked you, what do you
Mm-hmm.
need?
Yep.
Because, they're expected to be our covering, our protector, our provider, our
Yes.
warrior. but
Yes.
they need a safe place as well. Lanika gets on me all the time because I'll say, being Superman, you need a place to come in and be Clark Kent. She was like, okay,
Mm.
look, we got to use Black Panther. So, if you've been out there
Uh,
being Black Panther,
yeah.
you need a safe place to be T'Challa. So you have
Mhm.
to create that space for yourself, or even, ask your wife, hey, I really need some different things, because we're forever evolving. He's not the same person. I'm sure you're not the same person that you were prior to having children.
Mhm.
You've evolved, and so as you've evolved, your responsibilities have grown as well. So you have to create that safe space or that thing that helps fill your cup up, and you have to make sure that you take the responsibility of keeping your cup full. A lot of times people want to say, I remember there was this thing where it says, I want to be my husband's peace. That's true, but he also has a prince of peace. They can give him
Mm.
peace that can surpass all understanding.
All
So
understanding.
we have to take our grievances to God. The Bible says, cast our cares on Him. He
Mhm.
wants us to cast them so they're out of reach. So we have to create that space for ourselves that is safe, male or female. Journal some of your feelings, even if you're not willing to say those things out loud. Create that space where you can take off all the titles and be vulnerable, even
Mhm.
if it's just in your bedroom. But more importantly, take those things to God and ask Him to give you the strength that you need to be able to balance those things and pour out your spirit to Him. A lot of times men don't want to cry, but it's okay to cry, it's okay to worship. People don't realize what worship and crying does. Nothing can grow without a little water. So, you know,
Amen.
give yourself that space where you can pour out your grievances and things, and then allow God to fill up your cup, because you have a lot of responsibilities. And I'm going to be very honest. That's why, you know, when we were talking about suicide earlier, that's why so many men are doing that, because they don't have that safe space to be able to be vulnerable, to be naked and unashamed, to be
Mm.
able to say, you know what, I need, without feeling like I'm weak or feeling like, it's okay to do that.
Wow. Man, that's so powerful. And like you said, it really, and we appreciate, thank you all so much for sharing and the questions and even sharing from a personal standpoint, Charles and Tiffany and all the folks there in Lanika. But one of those things that really hits home even for me, because it's like, and people that know me say, look, we, like you said, we got to be strong. And then the other side of that is even politically, there's been a lot of political unrest in the country. And, hey, like I
Absolutely.
say, I always say, tell people we're not a politically affiliated organization, but you do know that no matter who you chose to vote for, or whether you voted at all, we do know that this was such a polarizing kind of situation and debate. And this has sparked so much unrest in the country when it was already a toxic situation between black men and police. And so it's kind of like, in addition to the things that Charles was saying and other guests, that we have to navigate all that, not taking away from what anybody else has to navigate. And black women, you all have certainly a lot on your backs too, but having to be that protector, having to do all those things that you said, and having to defend ourselves against the police, and having to, yes, sir, master kind of way of doing things. And that can really pile on somebody. And if you're keeping all that in and not crying, not going to a therapist, and then during COVID, then you were prevented from going to church. And so it's like people can just, you get to a point where any little thing will trigger you and you might explode.
That's right. That's why we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. We can't, so many times people want to look for other people to make them happy. We have to do things for ourselves. I call it little pockets of peace. We have to do things that make ourselves happy, no matter what it is, and do those things, not anything crazy, but do those things unapologetically. Self-care is more than just, bubble baths and spa treatments or whatever. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's
Mm,
saying, you know what, I need a moment. Let me take a moment off of social media. Let me take a moment, away from people. Let me get some me time for myself. And, self care is not selfish, it's self full. We got to keep ourselves full. So we have to
mm,
make sure that we pour into ourselves instead of looking at it as, well, I shouldn't, or I feel guilty, mom guilt or dad guilt. I got all these responsibilities. No, you have to take care of yourself first. It's just like when they do when you go to the airport and they give you the safety, they tell you
mhm.
to breathe the oxygen
Yeah,
first
put your mask on first.
to everybody else. So
I
that's
love that. We gotta coin that as like Kimbalism or something like so self-care is not selfish, it's self-full. Is that say it again for us before we can caption that.
self care is not selfish, it's self full. It's making sure that you keep yourself full because we pour out so much. Male, female, we pour out a lot. You add kids, relationships, a job that is demanding. And like you said, I mean, because I know I personally felt some kind of way that Tuesday, that Wednesday, I woke up and I felt some kind of way and I had to do some things for my own mental health. And I had to pray
Mhm.
some prayers that bring me peace with the outcome. So when you have those fears and those anxieties and those things, if we don't jump on it quickly, it could easily turn into something very traumatic. So we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves first.
Absolutely. And then Darlene says I was working with COVID patients and it was such a blessing meeting with a group of amazing women. Yeah, awesome. Let's see. Let's go down a couple more and then we'll Tierra. Tierra, what's going on, Tierra? All right. She says that journaling and prayer helped me a lot after the death of my husband.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Pouring out your spirit in paper. Sometimes it's a release that comes with that. Male or female, you should journal. Get some of those emotions and feelings out.
Absolutely. We had a comment that says we can't pour into others if we don't feel ourselves first. Yeah, that's right. Because that's a great statement. Because yeah, if you can't you pour it into somebody else and your cup is empty, you ain't got nothing to pour in there.
Not at all. And I'm tell you, I went through a season. I said I'm in my saucer season. Like you can only get the overflow stuff because I need this season right here. I need the cup full for me. You can
Man,
have the stuff in the
we got
saucer.
we got to come on now. Come on, we got another a Kimbalism. You tell us about salsa seasons. What say that again?
Salsa season means you get the overflow because I need everything for me just, for a minute, not just being. But sometimes we have to, especially when you have such a demanding job. Imagine dealing with all different types of people, emotions. I mean, just, being a physician, you're dealing with all of these different type of, mindsets and processes and constantly going. So I had to take a moment and say, hey, it's salsa season. You can only have what flows over, but I got to keep this part for me right now. And I probably went like 3 months of just pouring back into me, reading certain books, listening to certain podcasts, trying new techniques, and doing it for me. Because I do pour out so much. And there's other people, they add ministry and you add all of these servitude type jobs and callings and giftings and whatnot. It's
Hmm.
a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I I tell you, Dr. Kim, this has been a fascinating conversation. I think we'll have to cut it there. I think we've gotten through. We've addressed everybody's comments and questions as we do each and every week on Telehealth Tuesday. So if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, feel free. We'll do some follow-ups. You can DM us, email us, anything if there was something that did not get addressed, and we'll do our best to address that. Um, so the last segment of this, I know we're going a little bit over, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you wouldn't mind, Dr. Kimball, tell everyone who you are, where you are, how they contact you, what services you're provided, and anything that we miss, please.
Okay, so my website is the Dr. Laws Kimble .com. You can see all of, everything that I do. I have, as you can see, multiple certifications. So I always say I don't counsel. I don't do drug counsel or adolescents. So that's easy. That's the easiest way to say what I
Okay.
don't do versus what I do, because there are a lot of different versatile things. But again, if you do reach out and we're not a good fit, I will find some resources for you. Also, they can. I'm on all social media platforms. You can always DM me, contact me through my website. You can also set up a 15-minute consult through the website, um, any type of way like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we truly thank you so much for an amazing, yet another amazing episode on Telehealth Tuesday. And so, with that said, we thank everyone, all of our viewers and audience members who participated. Thank you for such an invigorating episode on Telehealth Tuesday. And remember, we are here each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Dr. B TV, which is the word doctor spelled out, and letter B is in boy, TV on YouTube, and Good Faith Wellness Center on Instagram and Facebook. So, again, thank you so much, Dr. Kimble, for all that you have done and all that you continue to do in the Nashville community and abroad. Next week, we will have Dr. Stephanie Miles Jefferson. You don't want to miss her. She's been on famed shows. She probably don't even want me to say it, but it's public record. So she's been on Bell Collective and some other reality shows as um, therapist and encouraging person to the stars. So we hope that you will join us next Tuesday. Telehealth Tuesday. Bring a friend with you. And don't forget to subscribe to Dr. BTV on YouTube. If you have an interesting story or testimony or anything that you guys want to share with us, I see you've got Dr. Kimmel, you've got some of your faithful followers there, Kimmy Price and Darlene Bills. They shouting out all over this place. Hold on. Before I do my closure, I see my childhood friend that I grew up with, Mount Sinai Church down here. We're here in Florida live. We're broadcasting Florida. She said, I enjoyed and gained a lot of knowledge. Let's put that up there that is my childhood friend. We
Wonderful.
grew up, yeah, here in Mount Sinai. Um, all right, so we'll shift back on. This is live, so this is live. So thank you all again. We're here each and every Tuesday. If you have something, an interesting story, testimony, anything, any special guests that you want to see, again, please DM us. If you want us to bring Dr. Kimball back, because I know that Darlene and Kimmy, they want to come back, and let's bring you back. And remember, no copays, Good Faith Wellness Center, or seeing when you're coming to see Dr. Bookhardt for the rest of this entire year for new patients only. So again, this is the place where we are here to minister to mind, body, and soul. We're here on a Tuesday, and remember, always remember that true wealth begins with good health. Bye for now. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Bookhardt. Come join us at our newest clinic location at Good Faith Wellness Center. We provide compassionate health care for your entire family, from virtual visits to office appointments. We're committed to providing the best care. We accept all insurances, and we provide monthly wellness plans. Let's start your family journey to a healthier, happier life. Schedule your appointment today, and remember, true wealth begins with good health.